Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. New microphone. Tell me about the sound quality of this one. I moved the old microphone to my new voice booth, which had been in the works for like 10 months, and only now can it actually be used properly. Yeah, I know, I'm pretty slow. The pandemic really put me on a damper. Anyway, let's get to the topic of this video, which came about when I was rewatching some old videos from this channel called Lemmino. He's a Swedish YouTuber who makes these really good animated videos. He's really good, and I also like his voice with his Swedish accent. He started with top 10 videos and then later moved on to stories, case studies of various topics. Like the Dyatlov Pass mystery, another video that I really like. The Tic Tac UFO, that's his most recent video. And this one, The Vanishing of Flight 370. The disappearance of Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 is one of those stories that holds a special place in my brain. I actually really like following that mystery because it happened out of the blue during my lifetime, and to this day, 6 years later, it's still pretty much unsolved. No one knows what really happened. There are various theories about it, but somehow, well, no one still knows because they haven't found the wreckage yet. There are pieces of the wreckage that have been found in various beaches, like in Reunion Island and in Queensland, Australia, but other than that, the black box is still underwater. And this was a flight going from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. Should be more or less a straight line, and it's not that long of a flight. Come on, it's just from Southeast Asia to China. How hard could it be? And this video is a very good video explaining what happened, and as well as the search operations thus far, which has costed like $200 million so far. I was rewatching this video because I like having videos in the background while I work. So I had this in the background, and then it made me think, wait a minute, what happened to the search operation so far? Did they have a new one? So I searched it up, opened a new tab, Google, MH370, and lo and behold, there's new shit. That's why I had to make this video. Fresh hopes, wreckage of MH370 could be found 6 years after the plane went missing, as experts find a likely crash site and say they would bet their house on it being there. Okay, that's a big statement. Now, what made me especially curious about this is because the conclusion of Lemmino's video, the latest search operation was basically around this area. And then there was a new clue. As this was published back in April 14, 2019, right? They searched that area. Okay, so here's a new theory. It might have turned all the way around at the north of that zone, of that search area, to near Christmas Island. Okay, that's your theory. But in this most recent development, which was reported less than a week ago as of this recording, which is this. The crash site is most likely here. Do you see that? It's south. It's at the opposite end. So I was like, holy crap, this is something. Okay, so I gotta make a video about this. Experts believe MH370 plunged into the South Indian Ocean near the coordinates, those coordinates, which is around 1,285 miles off the coast of Perth in Western Australia. So we have been searching all this time through all of this ocean, all of the Indian Ocean. And then it turns out it's just around here, and the mystery deepens because, man, the theories behind the disappearance of MH370 was just that's why I got interested in it. So reports now suggest that the plane crashed with 100 nautical miles of the coordinates. So here it is, just off the coast of Australia. The theories behind the disappearance of MH370 are are varied. Well, the most obvious theory is hijackers. The reason why the plane quote-unquote disappeared in the first place was because its transponders were turned off. It made no more radio contact during its flight after like a certain period of time when it was about to pass Vietnam, was it? And then it turned around towards the Indian Ocean and stuff, and then it ran out of fuel and then it plunged into the ocean, presumably. Those transponders in the plane are meant to keep a tab on the plane's location during its flight. So when there's no more radio contact, you can still, find it. But in this case, it was actually turned off, presumably manually turned off. We can never be too sure if it's really hijackers and what they plan to do with the plane unless we get the black box, of course. But there were also other theories. They start digging into the likely suspects. Like, for instance, the captain, the main pilot of the plane. The captain was Zahari Ahmad Shah. Did I pronounce it right? I know it's Ahmad. He was the pilot in command when the plane carrying 239 other passengers and crew vanished in March 2014. And they started digging into him, and psychological reports were like, no, he's fine, he's cool. Because pilots have to have psychological reports, of course, because, well, you can't have a mental case pilot your plane. But they somehow found out that he may be having an affair. Was a sordid love affair between pilot and his mistress the real reason behind MH370's disappearance? Ooh, it's getting juicy. And mind you, I'm sorry if I'm using the Daily Mail here, okay? Like, a lot of people don't like the Daily Mail. They liken it to a tabloid. Well, the Sun is more of a tabloid, but Daily Mail articles are written, it's almost like a tabloid. But hey, they're pretty damn good with how they write the news, because, well, they have cliff notes up top. That's pretty good, and the headline's more like a synopsis. And that was his mistress? Damn, she banging, and she's rich too. She's a heiress. Anyway, this theory states that things went awry, it went bad. His marriage was about to fall apart. His family life was going to shambles, and he was like, "Okay, I'm just going to disappear." Later investigations led to his house where his flight simulator is, and apparently the flight simulator data, the data logs, indicated that he actually did simulate a flight going to the Indian Ocean. Now, it wasn't entirely clear. There was no flight path, only like coordinates, suggesting that he did pass the Indian Ocean, very far south down the Indian Ocean, very remote parts. So I was like, okay, so he was simulating the flight. So maybe he actually planned the whole thing? Who knows? We wouldn't know until the black box is found. There's another theory of cabin depressurization. Basically, something might have happened and the cabin depressurized, and because there was low oxygen, everyone fell asleep. The passengers, the crew, the pilots, they all fell asleep during the whole time. It was like, that's why there was no radio contact, and maybe something happened to the transponders during that time, and the autopilot led them all the way to the Indian Ocean or something, and then it ran out of fuel, crashed into the ocean. They also investigated the co-pilot, who also had a seemingly clean psychological report, but they also dug into that. I didn't dig more into that though. I should though. There was also a theory regarding lithium-ion batteries that were present in the cargo hold, and that must have exploded. By the way, if you're carrying lithium-ion batteries, you can't have it on your carry-on. You have to take it to the cargo hold or something. Or if it's like a large amount, it has to be in a cargo hold. If it's just like a couple of lithium-ion batteries for your vape or something, you put it on your carry-on. As far as I know, those are the rules. Yeah, there were lithium-ion batteries. It was in the manifest, and they must have exploded and must have blew a hole in the fuselage or something. I don't know. Like, more details are actually in the Lemmino video. Now, why did I take vested interest in the story of Flight 370. It happened in 2014, and 2014 was a pretty crazy year on its own. Yeah, sure, 2020 is a really crazy year, but 2014 was pretty bad too. Like, for instance, it was the peak of ISIS. It had taken over most of Iraq, and it was moving into Syria and stuff. So that was pretty scary. Uh-oh, ISIS is gonna take over the world someday. Back then, it really seemed like it. You know, that's how the media was portraying it. Of course, Malaysian Airlines mishaps. This wasn't the only mishap that Malaysian Airlines had to endure. Also, they had Flight 17 that was shot down by surface-to-air missiles in Ukraine on July 17. To have your plane suddenly disappear in May, 2 months later, have another one shot down in a war zone, which, by the way, it was a flight from Amsterdam going to Kuala Lumpur. And why they passed through Ukraine, which was being invaded by Russia that time. Why? Why did you actually take the straight route? You're supposed to take a detour, right? No, but yeah, it was shot down. All 283 passengers and 15 crew members were killed. And there was like a video clip of soldiers, I think, going to the site, to the crash site, and they were like, oh no, this is not a fighter plane. This is a passenger plane. Oh no, we fucked up. Afterwards, Malaysia Airlines had to be nationalized, and they're still restructuring, I think. Yeah, they had to restructure because they were already in the red during 2014, and then these two things happened, and oh no. Anyway, 2014, as I've mentioned, saw Russia invading Ukraine and taking over Crimea, which is why if you draw maps of Ukraine right now, if you also draw the Crimean Peninsula along with it, you're gonna be in trouble. And there was also the Ebola outbreak in West Africa. That also happened in 2014. And something that a lot of people don't know, which I've mentioned in one of my previous videos, is a bubonic plague in Madagascar, which I watched a Vice documentary on. 2014 was pretty crazy, and it may have served as kind of a prelude to what's happening now with COVID-19. Anyway, that's all for now. Hope they find the wreckage. Finally, after all these years, maybe something good will actually come up here in 2020, huh? Yeah, hopefully so. Anyway, that's all for now. Till next time, stay Tor.